This was the first drive to class, maybe drive to work, I don't know, that I recorded, and there were a couple of hiccups along the way, so added a couple little addendums and extra pieces to it. But one of the big ones I wanted to say was I referenced a coach in here who really prompted a lot of this discussion, talking about the workout Barbara Ann. Is it a good class workout or not? And I did mess up her name in the podcast, so Ariel, and I think I said Ariel in the podcast, so Ariel, sorry about that. And again, thanks for all your thoughts. So here we go. All right. I'm driving to coach the 5:30 a.m., 6:30 a.m. classes right now at CrossFit Mafia. And this is something I've wanted to do for a while. Maybe you can hear some of the background noise, so we'll see how that goes. But this is something I've wanted to do for a while, and I was really inspired by another podcast that I like and I listen to really often, and the person doing it essentially for a really long time has recorded podcasts on his drive to work. It's like a 30-minute podcast because that's how long the drive to work takes. Sometimes the podcast's a little longer or shorter because of the traffic he hits, or maybe he's got to take a detour and drop somebody off. Sometimes he does carpool episodes. I don't see a lot of those happening at 4:30 in the morning, 5 in the morning. But I also had this, idea of wanting to try this when I was driving cross country pretty recently, and recorded a couple podcasts as I was doing that. And I've wanted to try it here. I thought it'd be a cool way to just talk about the class I'm coaching or different coaching topics, get some variety, get some consistency, and hope you enjoy it. So we're rolling right now, and my drive to work's a little shorter than 30 minutes, so it'll keep us tight on time, which can be good too. So earlier this week I coached the workout Barbara Ann, and the workout Barbara Ann is not straightforward, but it is 5 rounds for time, and each round starts off with 20 handstand push-ups, then you go into 30 deadlifts, 95 pounds for ladies, 135 pounds for guys, and then after the deadlifts it goes 40 sit-ups, which when I did it for me was the hardest part of the workout, and then finishes with 50 double unders, and then you rest 3 minutes between rounds. So 5 rounds, 20 handstand push-ups, 30 deadlifts, 40 sit-ups, and 50 double unders. Rest 3 minutes. So because this workout essentially has 12 minutes of rest baked into it, it can be a really long workout for class. If you look at the movement structure, you have 20 handstand push-ups, that's 100 total handstand push-ups, 150 total deadlifts, even though it's at what's intended to be a light deadlift weight, 95 pounds, 135 pounds. Sit-ups for me are like the only movement that I feel like I've never gotten better at, even though I've done CrossFit for 15, coming up maybe on 2007, so 18 years. And then double unders were not an issue, and doing it at our gym, CrossFit Mafia, our members are particularly good at jumping rope, so double unders weren't really a holdup for anybody who did in our class. What was cool about this is I posted I was doing the workout. I was excited to do it. It was released a couple of years ago from CrossFit.com as under the guise of one of the quote-unquote new girl benchmark workouts. A long time ago, benchmark workouts were released. There's a handful of them. Workouts that you probably heard, like Fran, which is 21-15-9 thrusters and pull-ups, or Diane, which is 21-15-9 handstand push-ups and deadlifts. And then they released a handful of new girl benchmark workouts where they combined some of the old ones. And so there is a workout called Barbara, and Barbara is very similar to this workout. It's 20 pull-ups, 30 push-ups, 40 sit-ups, and 50 air squats. And then there's also a workout called Annie, which is double unders and sit-ups, and it's a descending ladder from 40 down, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10 of double unders and sit-ups. So you kind of mash those two together and you get Barbara Ann. Now I posted that I was doing this, and one of the things too that's meant to be unique about the benchmark workouts is while they have all of the, typically have all of the general qualities of a good and interesting and entertaining CrossFit workout, they're really intended, and they're typically short and fast workouts, not always, but they're really intended to give us an opportunity to benchmark, to test and retest our fitness. So they're meant to be straightforward, repeatable, not too many frills in terms of like crazy types of equipment or things like that. And this workout, Barbara Ann, I posted that we were doing it, received some interesting comments on the Instagrams about, is it a good class workout? Is it not a good class workout? And I had one particular coach who I spent a lot of time chatting with this, and her take was that it is not a good class workout. And I think at this point, I kind of feel 50-50 about it. I think, she won me over a little bit. So shout out to Ariel. She's the head coach at CF Almadine, I think. I'd have to check. I'll throw that in the notes maybe. Level 3 CrossFit coach. We had a really long discussion about whether or not this is a good class workout, and her take that it's not. Whether or not it's a good workout on its own, separate from our discussion. And I thought her take on this was really, really simple. It was basically that there's so much going on in the workout, the amount of rest, the difficulty created by the volume of the workout makes this thing run really long. So there's just not a lot of time to actually do things like teach the handstand push-up in this, or maybe even teach athletes something like a double under for first time. And like I said, I think actually I've come around to this, and I'm kind of a 50-50. I do think what makes something a good class workout, well, that was something I started thinking about, is what makes something a good class workout. And one of the things somebody said to me a really long time ago when I owned CrossFit Boston and I would coach there, he said to me, one of the things I like about CrossFit, he said, what I like about CrossFit? And I asked him what it was, and he said, CrossFit presents me a unique and different challenge. Maybe he said it a little bit differently. A unique and different is a little redundant, and I don't think he's someone who would be redundant in this way. But he basically said CrossFit presents a different challenge every single day. And it was a challenge he enjoyed, and he liked that part of it, the variety. And I thought this was like a really nice way to sum up, kind of like how CrossFit class programming can work, from all of the effectiveness benefits, putting those aside. Another thing I think makes a class workout a good class workout is that it does fit inside of a class hour and allows athletes to do a couple things. The workout is not silly enough that allows athletes to get access to it. So what I mean by that is, if you had a workout that was going to take 50 minutes and had all kinds of like crazy equipment that athletes might not have access to, I think that would be a challenging class workout. And I'm not settled on any of these things, but as I had this conversation with Ariel, I started thinking about a lot of this more, like what is a good class workout. Another thing I think is a really good class workout is a workout that does allow for some level of teaching, the ability of the coach to do his or her job and help athletes learn a new skill or develop skills that they have. So there are some cases in workouts, because you do only have an hour of class time. You have limited resources as a coach because class size is going to change. You can't coach everybody as thoroughly as you want. You got to kind of spread the coaching peanut butter all over the class bread. Terrible analogy, but you get the idea. You can't just clump it all in the middle on one person. One of the coaching questions that I've always received a lot throughout the years is like, hey, how do you coach a class when you have one athlete who's really, 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 really new? Or if you have a lot to do. And this workout, Barbara Ann's a good example of that. And you do have to sacrifice some things. So like in today's class, I'm not going to go crazy about, well, I could. I didn't go crazy about trying to teach everybody the double under or refine their jumping rope. We talked about it a little bit. And there's more opportunity to do this during the rest time, which is really sweet. But you don't have a ton of opportunity to do it during warm-up time. And here's the reason. Like I said, the workout's 20 handstand push-ups, 30 deadlifts, 40 sit-ups, and it finishes with 50 double unders and a 3-minute rest. I think, kind of the fastest somebody could get rounds done is probably right around that 3-minute mark, just under. So, that means you have a workout that's going to run somewhere in the realm of at least 25 to 30 minutes. Now, one of the things I started talking about with this coach online, what she was saying is like, hey, look, this workout is going to take, athletes who are good at getting, fit athletes who are good at getting the RX workout done in class, the workout as written. It's going to take them up to 35 minutes to finish this workout, and that's kind of how I laid it out. 35 to 37 minutes is for our class. I set it out for athletes to be able to finish all their rounds in under 5 minutes, and what this means is you got to do a fair amount of scaling. And this was one of the other prevailing arguments I saw from people online, was that like, hey, this is a good class workout because it gives athletes to a unique workout structure. It gives athletes the ability to try a unique combination of movements. We don't do that often. And it gives them a chance to test themselves, like high volume handstand push-ups, high volume deadlifts, high volume sit-ups, and high volume double unders. Again, kind of some like unique workout elements that we're like not exposed to and seeing all the time. And that's exciting for a lot of people. And I agree, that's one of the reasons the workout stuck out to me and I really liked it. So that was one of the prevailing arguments, that you can just scale people down to keep the workout so athletes can get it done faster, and that will make it a good class workout. And I definitely think that's how you make the workout good in class. I don't think it's a good class workout in the sense that it's very straightforward or easy. And some people might say, well, good things aren't always easy. Yeah, I get it. But straightforward or easy to kind of bring the workout to life in class. So we had to do a lot of scaling. I think from my point of view, a good RX athlete should be able to finish all of their rounds in under 5 minutes. And I think out of roughly 80 or so athletes who did this workout in CrossFit Mafia throughout the day, I believe we had 6 who did RX, and that was including myself. So in terms of how the proportion of athletes who are RX and the proportion of athletes who are scaled, definitely a much higher percentage of athletes scaled than normal. That was intended. And we also once in a while intend, and I'll talk about maybe a workout we did coming up, or one we did in the past recently, where the goal was, this will still be a challenging workout, but the goal was to get a lot of athletes to do it RX. So I'm kind of getting close to work, and I've talked about this more than I thought, but that's all right. Maybe we do a 2-parter. Anyway, so how do we bring this thing to life? So I tried something a little bit unconventional. I made it really clear to the class that their goal was to overscale. If they grabbed a barbell weight and there was a thought in their head that they couldn't get the deadlifts done in 1 to 2 sets, it was too heavy, or we should cut the reps down. I made the rep cutting down volume guidance very straightforward. Instead of 20, 30, 40, 50, you're just going to go 10, 20, 30, 40. I also told them, we punted on the double unders. I said, hey, look, today's not the day to have an intergalactic struggle for good to defeat the double under. And I said, if you struggle with double unders at all, cut it to single unders. Now, where I focused most was on the handstand push-up. And because I was allowing athletes to have up to 5 minutes to finish a round, plus the 12 minutes of total rest in the workout, this means I needed about 37 minutes for the workout to run to give them some cleanup time and warm-up time. So 37 minutes is not a lot of time. It leaves me about 23 minutes to do all of the normal class stuff. Whiteboard brief, little bathroom time, cool down time. And I'll totally admit, we were pretty much just workout ended. We had like a minute or 2 left. High fives, clean up, scores, check in on everybody, congratulate them, get them out the door. And actually my second class started late because I got chatty. But neither here nor there. Basically, it just does not leave you a lot of time for a relatively complicated warm-up. So the way I handled this is typically we have a general warm-up, which you're just kind of getting prepping the body and the brain ready for full range of motion, functional movement. We really blended this general and specific warm-up. So after whiteboard brief, everyone grabbed their equipment, We had out empty barbell. I told them to grab a box if they thought they would do a pike push-up or a pike push-up from the box in place of the handstand push-up. I demoed that at the whiteboard, so people who forgot maybe were familiar, people who had never seen it had an idea of it. And I was tight on the allowable scaling options. In some cases, I let people kind of go outside the boundaries, but I said basically today for the handstand push-up, you're going to handstand push-up, you're going to cut the volume, you'll do a pike push-up from the ground or a box, or you'll do a push-up. And that's kind of where I got everybody. There were a couple cases where people really wanted to use a dumbbell press, which I think is a really nice scale for a handstand push-up because it mimics just the range of motion as far as going overhead, extending the arms overhead. But those were the turning into the road for work, so kind of closing in on this thing. Those are the options that we used for scaling the handstand push-up. And basically what I really encourage people to do is I said, I really want you to walk out of round one, finishing all of your movements close to your deadlifts, your sit-ups, and your jump rope option, close to unbroken. And then, we had a good mix of people doing things like pike push-ups from a box. A lot of people did handstand push-ups against the wall, and they just cut the reps severely. And what I did is I told them, I said, hey, look, during the break, the 3-minute rest time, I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to pay close attention to you guys. If I see you finishing a round and you're just tearing through it and it seems way too easy, during the rest time, I'll come chat to you. And the little reps fairy will sprinkle on probably a couple more reps here and there. It'll increase the difficulty. But I want that first round to be easy. And I said vice versa, if you take 5 minutes for your first round, I promise you I will come scale you, because if your first round's 5 minutes, rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5 are not going to be 5 minutes. They're going to be over 5 minutes, and we want to avoid that scenario. We want to blend the ability to access some higher volume, rep volume, while maintaining intensity. This is not meant to be slow rounds or a slow workout. So I talked to them about that, and that's kind of how I ran the workout. And it was cool because we have a great gym at Mafia. The athletes are so easy to coach, and they listen really well. So Brittany, shout out to Brittany for being an awesome owner and head coach there to, just kind of create an opportunity for that. And so one of the things I did, like I said, is throughout the workout, I would go around to people and, hey, 2 more handstand push-ups this time, 2 more reps of these this time. It was a busy workout, I'll tell you that. It was probably the hardest I've worked as a coach in a long time. But it was cool because nobody burned out, nobody ran way over in time. I had one athlete who kind of did, and she just told me, though, she admitted, she said, I actually cut the rest down, and because she just really wanted to do all the volume of the workout. But that's a different topic altogether. She was very happy she did it, so no sweat there. But it was a neat workout because I think people were really happy to have the exposure to that combination of movements. And it was also a really awesome opportunity because I think athletes got to learn how do you scale in a workout a little bit more effectively than normal. And once scaled, we kind of learned as we got tired how to add back on a little bit of volume. And there's maybe some things to think about with that. We could also talk about at a later date. But feel really challenged by the handstand push-up, but also still have access to it or a version of it. Because typically what happens in a workout like this is that everyone, you tell everyone, oh yeah, we got to scale properly. And the first round takes everyone 6 minutes. And then as a coach, you're just like, you either say screw it or no one will listen to you because you didn't prep them that you're going to scale them, or you're just busting your ass to like slowly scale them way back throughout the workout. And I think it's easier to go the other way around. I think it's easier to, in a workout like that, where you have high volume, higher complexity, built-in rest, longer workout, to, start them really judiciously and then slowly make it a little bit harder for them. So, yeah, like I said, I am on the fence if that's I don't think it's a great class workout. It's a great workout, in my opinion. It's really fun. The movement combinations are a little bit odd, but that's also what I think a lot of people like about it. It's why people love chippers. And the other thing I thought was cool was just a great conversation to have with another coach on the internet, and it was productive in a way that most of those types of conversations don't go on the interwebs. So Barbara Ann. I don't think I give it the highest marks as far as a workout. There are other benchmarks I like way more. But those are some of the things I thought about with it. And overall, really enjoyed the day. Athletes loved it. So, I think it'll show up again in the future. But we got some other workouts to get through first. And that's it. I'm at work. Been sitting in the car for a second. That ran a little bit longer than I wanted it to. So we'll talk to you soon. And we'll keep seeing how this goes. More tomorrow. There was something I wanted to add on. So I'm recording this after the morning. This is the drive home bonus edition. And one of the things I want to talk about is I think one of our faster, fitter class athletes finished the workout in around 32 minutes, including rest. So we remember we have about 12 minutes of rest built into the workout. So 32 minus 12 is 20. 20 divided by 5, the number of rounds, means they average about 4 minutes a round. And earlier I had said the class, their goal is to finish each round under 5 minutes. I told them in the whiteboard brief, if their first round takes them 5 minutes or over, I will scale them during the rest. So we can balance this goal of exposing yourself to higher skill, volume, and intensity all combined together. So anyway, one of our fitter, faster athletes finished in 32 total minutes, so 4 minutes a round. Why not scale everybody to 4 minutes a round? I think it's a really good question. And one of the reasons I say that is, and I gave them the goal of 5 minutes a round, is because I think it is really important in some cases to give people a little bit more time to be exposed to a movement or a pattern or a loading or a volume and balance that with the intensity. I think there are some cases where if you chase intensity via decreasing time at all costs, especially with athletes in that intermediate level, you can really prevent them from trying new movements, trying new loadings, trying certain volumes that they otherwise wouldn't have. So I think that's an important thing. It's a challenging thing to do and to learn how to do it, and I've messed it up way more than I've ever gotten it right. So I just wanted to add that on there and give a little insight. I think if you scale this one down way too fast, like for example, we had a lot of people do the workout with just 5 handstand push-ups. And even those 5 handstand push-ups took them, almost a minute. But what was most important is that they did an actual handstand push-up instead of scaling it to a push-up or even a pike push-up. So in that case, I thought it was more valuable, even though they might have been 30 seconds faster per round if I scaled them to a pike push-up, and I felt like it was more important for them to do the movement and balance that with the overall volume intensity. So just wanted to add that in there, and that's all I got to say on that one.